What is up, tasties and tastettes? Welcome back to another episode of FTWGT Weekly. It's your boy Lenny, joined as always with the man who just gave you a rounding rouse of applause.
Man, can't find his words. A round of applause.
Yeah, that was tough. Yeah, we are back with another movie review, news, and all that good stuff in between. As we get into it, though, if you could and you haven't, could you please subscribe to the pod, drop a like, comment, share, and subscribe on the video for us, as well as shout us out wherever you can. Help us grow the channel. We'd appreciate it. Excuse me. Dante, I want to get into something really quick. We were getting into it a little, like, off of a video that our good friend Hey Archer sent us about AMC. It was a TikTok about what's wrong with AMC Premiere.
A-List
Premiere.
Sure, if you want to call it that.
I think there's different levels.
Yeah, but we're talking about A-List.
Premiere.
What? Oh, I'm pretty sure it's just A-List. Motherfucker. AMC Stubs A-List.
Oh yeah, because Premiere's the middle one.
Yeah.
There's Insider, Premiere, A-List.
Is Stubs not a thing anymore?
No. And I don't know, dude. I don't like your opinion.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think that TikTok had some valid points where it's like...
Okay, you want to walk us through his valid points?
All right, so the first point he makes is, like, the argument that people who have the A-List subscription, i.e. you and myself, say, hey, it's a great value because you can watch up to 3 movies a week. But the argument then was there aren't even 2 good movies a month that come out.
I believe his argument was like, yeah, you could see 3 good movies a month, and if you see 2, it pays for itself, correct?
Yeah.
And so if I rebuttal with, I've seen 12 already within 4 months that are good enough to have justified going to, that's already paid for my whole year. I don't see where you have an argument. We're not even halfway through the fucking year yet. So yeah, of course, like no shit, people. Like, there's a lot of fucking bad movies that come out because taste varies, and like some people like things, some people don't. I would argue the ability to see 3 movies a week. I've seen almost every movie that's come out in the movie theater this year at this point. So yeah, of course, I didn't like everything that's come out, but I had the ability to go see them, and I didn't have to pay. I wouldn't have seen them if I had to pay. But like,
I think that's part of the point, and I don't know if really A-List is to blame or you and I's subtle competition is.
No. But
we've
here's the thing,
gone
Dante.
to see a lot of movies that I just know I wouldn't have otherwise gone to see.
Let's talk about last week. You went and saw Unsung Hero, correct?
Yeah.
Would you have seen that?
No.
And you liked it?
Yes.
So that's kind of the fucking point. Is like, you have the ability to go see all of these additional movies, and you're gonna find things. Fucking 4 out of 5 you're not gonna like, but for the one that you wouldn't have seen that you didn't like, that's a cherry on top to the fact that you've already seen 12 movies that paid for your whole year subscription, basically. Fucking, like, you have to see what, 24? Sorry, that are good throughout the year to have it make sense financially.
I think you split the difference. I think it's like 18. Because movie tickets are like 16 a piece or something like that.
And just because I said 10 to 12 are like legitimately good doesn't mean that I wouldn't have seen some of the other ones. Like, I wouldn't even say the worst movie I've ranked on my list this year, ISS. I would have seen that movie regardless. Like, I was interested in it. It ended up being bad, but it takes the sting off of it being bad when I'm like, fuck it, I didn't really care. I didn't pay for it. Like, I think it really comes down to, you either want to go to the movies or you don't want to go to the movies. That's why I think the argument's fucking dumb. Like, yeah, if you, like, this guy, what was he using as examples? First of all, he used the Mario movie, like, which was good. He didn't have to, you didn't have to see that twice. And he used Sing. Like, yeah, he strategically chose fucking kids movies. It's like, dude, you're 30 something years old and the best movies you could pull out of your ass was Sing 2. Like, what are we fucking doing here, man? Because, like, yeah, sure, a majority of your good movies are going to come out between May in August, May, and September. You might sprinkle in a couple during the holiday season that are good as well, right? But that basically justifies the membership. Don't, and I think you have to, if you cancel, you can't resubscribe for 6 months or something like that. I think there's like a,
Oh, really?
I
Well, you
think
could
there's a,
pause the membership, so like, why
can
would you
you?
cancel?
Yeah, but so okay, but that proves my point even more. If your argument is that there's months where there's not good movies that come out, then don't pay for that month for the subscription. And to be fair to this guy, I think he knew he was making a shit argument. I'm pretty sure he says in there that like I can already tell a lot of people aren't going to agree with this. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
like kind of starts the video off and he's just doing it because he's on like a show that he has to make the argument. But I think it's a shit argument because like I said, like
I didn't say his entire value
no,
argument was
you
valid. I just said he
basically
made some
you
valid points.
let's read the whole context of what you said really quickly because it was
Oh
kind of
shit.
that man makes some valid points and I can't help but agree with, especially after all these bad movies I've been putting myself through. What bad movies, dude? Like what we saw like there's one this week I'm pretty sure that we're both going to agree on, right?
Yeah.
Um did you see a bad what was the last bad movie before that?
I don't know. I'll have to go through my list. You know, my memory's not great, but off the top of my head, Lisa Frankenstein, fucking what else?
Which was a fucking mystery movie, dude.
That was a mystery movie, but we knew what it was before we went there.
Like I'm struggling to be like we've
I
really
wouldn't have gone to see Ghostbusters. Like, could have
okay.
cared less about that.
You would have done it because of the podcast regardless.
Fuck. All right, fine. I'm losing my argument,
No,
man.
it's just like it doesn't make sense, dude. Like there haven't even been like terrible movies. Funny enough, I saw a TikTok that was breaking down the 10 worst movies that like this guy had seen this year. Um and there was a couple on there. He had like Kong vs Godzilla and I'm like, well, it wasn't like the greatest movie I've ever seen. It's not bad. Like it's fine.
I
Um
mean, I guess from what you have to pull from it depends how many movies he's seen this year.
and it depends on your taste too.
Yeah.
He had streaming movies included, by the way, like not just movie theater movies. Um,
Okay.
but his worst movie of the year so far is Night Swim.
I mean, it's down there on my list.
It's low on my list. It's not like at the end of the day, I saw like I would lean on my bottom two of last year being worse than Night Swim.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean,
It's
while
still
it's
not
not a
even.
good movie, it wasn't anything that was like horribly unenjoyable.
I have four. It's four from the bottom on this year for me. I've seen like I would argue this guy's not seeing enough movies. Part of like the movie going
Maybe he needs a
experience.
list.
Yeah. And like just from my perspective, like having a podcast channel that's called For Those with Good Taste, I think you need to like realize like you're gonna take in a mixture of good and bad. And I say most of the time, I think we're probably too easy on things, even though I get criticized as being like negative on shit. Like I generally don't give a ton of harsh reviews, I don't think, because I go into most things like whatever, like it was an hour and 45 minutes. It didn't offend me, you know, with how
Yeah.
bad it was. It was just kind of
Your
boring.
your
Like,
your your easy pass is always it knows what it is.
yes, and I would argue a Night Swim. Like, I didn't love it. I don't think it accomplished much in terms of being a horror movie. Like, I wasn't scared, but like it was fine to watch for a couple hours. You know, like it. I'm never gonna watch it again. But again, I didn't pay for it, so I don't fucking care. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just like that whole thing bothers me. Like I think it just more so comes down to like you either wanna be a movie person and go to the movie theaters or you don't. And it's fine if you don't. I think a majority of people are in the camp of I don't want to go to the movies unless it's like a premiere blockbuster movie. And then you have a fair argument and you shouldn't be subscribed to A-List. Like if you're the person who only wants to go to Dune, you want to go see Kingdom, you want to go catch one of the summer blockbusters, whether it be Twisters or something else, and then you're going to see Deadpool. Like if you know at the beginning of the year, you're like, really, there's only 4 or 5 movies, like the big things that are coming out that I want to go check out. You shouldn't have A-List, right? You should just pay for your ticket those times when you go. But for me, at least personally, and like anybody I think that has A-List, it's like you're getting it because you're like, I don't go to the movies enough. I want to go more, and if I'm gonna go more, why would I pay more money to go to it? I live a very boring life. I spend a lot of time in movie theaters. I use all of my A lists almost every week, and it sucks sometimes. Don't get me like there are times where like we've gone to movies and I'm like, or like at least more like recently where I've we've really indulged into this competition where I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't really like you need to go see this, but in we actually made a truce this week on a movie that we agreed we wouldn't see, right?
yeah, yeah. We
Because
did.
like there it was getting too far. Like I was about to sit through not another church movie or whatever, and like I was like, dude, can we just make sure that that doesn't happen to either one of us because there's no good ending for this. Like that just means
Yeah.
I don't go home for 2 hours after I got out of work, and I'm not going to enjoy it. Like it's going to be me sitting in a theater with like my phone out, just like waiting for the time to pass.
Part of me wanted to tell you I was gonna go see it and then not go see it just to make you sit through it.
I would have done that too. Honestly, I would have been more likely to do it if you said you weren't going to see it. But I was fine with just having a truce, so neither one of us have movement on the list and just leave it alone.
Uh,
It was brutal. Yeah, okay. I just like it kind of bothered me your take there a little because then you like doubled down in the text too. Like you were trying to stand on business a little bit, and it was like, come on, dude. Like that was a stupid fucking argument. Like I get why that guy is making that argument because you have to take that stance in whatever show he was on for context. But like, no, thank you, dude. Like it's just don't get A list at that point. It's fine. But like to say it's a bad investment if you don't want to
I
go, you don't want
I
to go.
wasn't saying it was a bad investment.
No,
I'm
but
just
that's
saying
what
I forced
essentially
myself to
that was
put
his
myself through bad movies.
perspective. That was his perspective, though, right?
Yeah,
Like people will tell you that A list is awesome because you get all these tickets, but you don't see good movies.
I've definitely seen good movies.
Yeah, I've seen mediocre and I've seen bad. It's a smorgasbord.
Yeah, a lot of mediocre.
Yeah, yeah. Most things that I'm seeing are like 2 to 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
You know. Cool. But so let's get into something that I don't think was 2 to 2.5 stars and like kind of makes the whole movie theater going experience worthwhile. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
I guess I'll start. The first and foremost, this movie is like stunning, and I think it was like a base level expectation that from like a visual standpoint, this movie is gonna be it's going to be an argument between I think this or Dune for what your preferred viewing experience, and I think that this probably wins out on a pure visual standpoint to Dune. Like this, like the greenery and like the nature in it, but then also like the dystopian like buildings that are like toppled over and like vines growing on them and like old washed up ships that are like rusting away and have kind of just become part of that like land, like all of that like environment was first of all, like when you hit really good on that stuff, it obviously like is a first level of kind of like immersing
Immersion.
yourself
Yeah.
into the environment and like the story itself. But yeah, it's just like in seeing it in IMAX too, like it's the perfect movie for IMAX, I think. Yeah, I think that that was the first key point to this movie was that, and I read that even though like obviously it's a heavily CGI'd movie, they tried their best to film a lot of it in real location
Okay. I
with like
mean,
the
this is one of those
actors.
movies where like the CGI wasn't offensive at all. If anything, it actually added a level of immersion because it felt real.
And I think that that's been the case with all of the Apes movies
Yeah.
in the original trilogy that we're looking at. Um, and then this movie that's part of its own new thing, but also tied in there. Um, so yeah, I think just on that level alone, I was already really drawn in. For me, this was probably when the year started. If we went back and watched that year preview, it was this or Deadpool that I was like most looking forward to as far as what was coming out. And I think this more so on like I know this movie's going to be like, or I have high expectations for quality of film. I think Deadpool, it's more of like a fun movie going experience that I'm expecting and like,
Yeah.
funny, good action, but not like serious. I think it'll be highly regarded hopefully by the end of the year,
I
but like,
expect it to fall alongside Fall Guy.
yeah. Whereas this to me is more like for a lack of a better term, like cinema. You know, like
Yeah.
you roll your
I
eyes. What's that all about?
I think like the cinematography was great. I think like the whole visual experience was great. This is definitely a movie you should see in the movie theaters. Um, but I feel like when you say cinema, it's like you're almost laying out like, hey, like this is like the perfect movie to watch. And
No, 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 no. But I think that it hits on a lot of things that a great movie should. I think that like it has interesting characters, it has solid action, good visuals, and it has a story that both respects where it came from, but also is building upon a future world that it's creating that can stand on its own, but also respects what it was built upon.
okay.
I feel like you have gripes.
I mean, I wouldn't say I have gripes. I just don't think I held it in as high of a regard as you.
Okay, where do you hold the franchise in regards?
I think I like so I didn't see the last one. What was it?
Well, that's a
Dawn of
problem
the
then,
Planet of the
dude,
Apes?
because you don't even appreciate Caesar.
I mean, I saw his upcoming and the one
But
right after that.
like you got to see the third to appreciate Caesar. Like
Yeah.
Caesar's a thug, and the
Caesar ain't
most
in this.
but he's heavily associated to it. Like
What?
all of what he does in that third movie, the second and third movie, is a lot of what this movie's foundation is built upon.
Okay.
Like this movie, in terms of where it ranks, like I probably enjoy Dawn and War more than I enjoy this movie, right? Um, but it's not to say that this movie's bad. I think those movies are just phenomenal. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that this still does a good job, and it's rebuilding the world. You know, so it's back where Rise was in some regards, where like indifferent thing would be like when Rise came out, people didn't expect or didn't they weren't making it with this idea of like people didn't know that there was definitely going to be a sequel when Rise
Yeah.
came out. Like Rise did well enough, it kind of set up some stuff, and then here we are into a sequel, you know. And then the second and third just hit it out of the park as far as like quality of movie. And Caesar and Koba are so great that like it makes those movies kind of stand up on their own for how good they are. And then the human performances in there, whether it's Franco, I can't remember the guy's name in real life from the second movie, or and I just had the name, and then I fucking threw myself off for the third one. Name Dante, name
Uno momento, por favor.
Zombieland.
Fuck. Talking about no.
Somebody's just yelling at the screen right now. This is bothering me.
Oh god. I can't get this to load fast enough. Need Dave back at screen, man.
He was significantly better at this than you.
Yeah. From Zombieland?
Yeah.
Wasn't
Also,
Jacob Budo, was it?
no, also friends with benefits. Brother, like this is killing me right now. I'm sorry to everybody watching or listening that you're just like irate staring at the screen.
John
Woody
Lithgow?
Harrelson.
Uh,
Woody Harrelson. Fuck. How'd you get all the wrong names?
I was just scrolling through the cast.
It's literally
I've never seen Zombieland.
I typed in WA and Where the Planet of the Apes came up. I didn't even click on it. It was the second name tied to the movie.
IMDb doesn't have him up there.
I was on IMDb.
Ah, never mind. I was on the wrong movie. That's why I couldn't find it. I
Jesus
was on
Christ.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
No, that's Franco, dude. And
Yeah.
Lithgow was his dad, who he was trying to create the cure for.
Yep. Yep.
And then I think you know, this movie is probably a little long, but I think that it did enough from a story perspective to keep me intently watching. And I think I liked what's the main ape's name?
Caesar?
No, in
Oh,
the
in this one.
yeah.
Fuck, I forget.
See, this is where you're supposed to be better than me about because I'm not the name guy. I'm a real life name guy, but like in movies, names don't mean anything. I know the bad guy Proximus, but I just can't remember
Oh man. Uno momento. Noah.
Noah. Yeah, I think like Noah was an interesting lead character. I think you know between the relationship with his dad to start the movie and then building into him like kind of growing as a character throughout the movie. I think the um his bestie there, such with an R, right?
Reika.
Reika. I thought he was great as far as a side character. And kind of your true tie between the old world and the new world, where this movie takes place so far after the fact. And I think that that was a big question coming into this movie: is how are you going to tie in to the original? And I like that they put so much time in between it, so you have essentially a whole new world that you're working with, a whole new cast of characters and circumstances. But it's still so heavily tied into the ideals that were built through the third movie, well, the first three movies. And I heard this somewhere that like this movie plays out a lot like like the game of like telephone when like you sit in a circle and it's like somebody whispers something to one
Oh, yeah,
person
yeah, yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
seeing how it gets around the circle and the story changes. Like the story of Caesar is essentially that game of telephone, and it's just like it's been hundreds of years, and it's how the history of Caesar has
Has been interpreted.
has
Yeah.
been interpreted and changed from across so many different areas because like these different like whether it be countries, whether it be like other countries have I might have other versions of Caesar essentially because he only really impacted the United States part of it. They might have had another ape that did something somewhere else. It's just like these figures that again it's I think it kind of ties into real life because I think that that happens a lot with like religion and stuff, right? Like the
Yeah.
way you interpret the past is like how you want it to look. And I don't know, like I think for those reasons I liked this quite a bit. I'd like to hear more of your negatives. I don't know if we need to wait for spoilers. Is that
I
why
don't
we
think I have like a ton of negatives. I just think, I mean, like, it was an okay movie, and like I said, like, visually it was definitely very, very appealing. But like, I just feel like the story didn't really grasp me the same way it seems to have grasped you. Like, I think it was okay, and it's not like it ranked it low or anything. It wasn't mind blowing or spectacular.
well the word is that this is part of now a proposed 9 movie franchise. Now this would be
9 including the ones we've
yes.
gotten?
So this would be
Okay.
the fourth out of 9 is the plan.
Okay.
Does that do you think that's good or do you think that they don't have like are you not looking forward to another one?
I think they could do more with it. I feel like maybe this was just more of a setup movie to restart the franchise.
Yeah, I think it's introducing
And
you
I
to
I think if I look at it in that light, like as being like a filler movie, like no, it wasn't bad, but as its own like standalone movie, like it was fine. I don't think it was anything great.
I don't think it's a filler movie. Like I don't know if I think that that's the right way to put it because I think at the end of the day it's a bridge more than it's a filler. It
Okay.
it's a movie that has character introduction and gives you depth in story. I'm not saying that like every scene is like the most like epic shit ever. I wish maybe there was a bit more action in it, but I
Yeah.
also understand that like this movie isn't going to do that the same way Rise didn't necessarily do that. Like this is supposed to be a re-entry point for a franchise to let you know what's happened over the past couple hundred years, to let you understand what's changed for apes, what has changed for humans, where they kind of fall in the world of all of that stuff. And I think it just accomplishes that, and I think it leaves you with the right amount of questions. It gives you. I was worried that you weren't going to get any answers by the end of this movie, right?
Yeah.
And I think by the end of it, you're left with enough answers to be satisfied, but also enough questions to be like, oh, where are they going with this?
I feel like this movie's setting up very similarly to Dune 1. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like where like the reception of Dune 1 was kind of mixed, right? Like some people were either like this was the greatest movie ever or this was the biggest waste of time. But then you get to Dune 2 and you're like, "Holy fuck, now it all makes sense and like it's so much better together." And I'm more interested to see what the next installation of the franchise will bring. to kind of re-excite me.
So, like, with that thinking, though, the Dune comparison, did you go into this movie anticipating it to be a standalone film?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know.
I never. I always thought it would be the start of a new trilogy at minimum.
Okay.
Just like because I don't think you're bringing it back without Caesar to just have a standalone one-off movie. Like it wouldn't have made a lot of sense to me.
So then this was just the character building movie.
Yeah, I kind of always anticipated it to be that. Like you're introducing a whole new set. Like there's nothing tying you to the original except for some mythology stuff,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that that's where the reason I say the Dune thing is like I think that that's where the people's disappointment was with Dune 1 is that people went into Dune 1 expecting it to be the full movie and then all of a sudden it was like wait, there's a lot more story to tell here and the movie's just kind of over.
Yeah.
You know? Um, and it made the second one that much more satisfying, I think. This one, I think if you went in with the expectation that this was a standalone film, then yeah, I guess like you'd be sitting there kind of like 40, 60% of the way, 70% through the movie, being like, well, how are they going to wrap this up and give me a satisfying finish? When I don't think that you were ever going to, because I think there was always going to be a setup for more,
Fair.
personally. Um, so I definitely recommend. I definitely recommend this as a movie theater movie. I think for the visuals alone, it's not going to translate the same way. Um, Watching it at home, unless you have,
No.
if you have an OLED, you have, if you have a fucking 77-inch or an 83-inch OLED, I'm not going to tell you this doesn't like this can't look fantastic in your house. But I think like seeing it on IMAX, like I've talked to a couple other people who have seen it in IMAX who feel the same way. Like it was well worth making the trip to the theater for. And I think while it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, it wasn't a drag of a 2 hours and 20 minutes for me. I found myself immersed and interested the whole way through. And it
No,
was
it definitely kept
never,
me engaged the whole way
yeah,
through.
I was never like looking for it to be over or anything. So
Yeah.
these movies that border over that 2 hour line, I don't think 2 hours and 20 minutes for this kind of movie is offensive. I think these are the kind of movies that deserve that 2.5 hour runtime to truly give you character development because they're doing it in an interesting way.
Yeah.
Uh, so 3, 2, 1, spoiler. Uh, so as far as like the things it sets up and some of the other stuff, right? So I think it's coming back now to it seems as though we're going to be going back down that line of human versus ape again where this movie is much more ape versus ape I think with like a spice of human thrown in there.
Yeah.
Um I thought the human character stuff was interesting. I think it's interesting how that girl is as well developed as she is.
What do you mean by that?
Like she speaks perfectly. She's wearing
Oh,
regular
yeah, yeah, yeah.
clothing. Like all of these things when in all reality like humans are essentially a hunted thing in this world, and they're
Yeah, that was a
treated
question from the first time they showed her.
like
Like, I was like, "She's in regular clothes."
they talk of humans as if they're idiots too, right? Like they're just
Yeah.
like they're essentially like cattle or something that kind of just like is a lesser being to them. So the idea that this girl is like as developed as she is, how has this civilization that we don't know if she's from. So like they wrap the movie with like basically the female premise for this movie, like the girl. Um Originally she's saying that she was lost from her group and that her group was killed. Um and you find out that she's not essentially telling the whole story and there's a bunker that Proximus Caesar, who, by the way, we didn't even talk about this in non spoilers. Proximus, I think, was a great villain, and I hope that he's not dead because I think that there's still more to that character to be utilized.
Yeah.
And where like he fell into water quite the same way as Raka fell into water, I think that there's a world where either both or one of the two of those characters are still alive, and you because you didn't see them die on camera. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a bunker that he has been trying to Proximus has been trying to get into. that has, all of these ties to the old world, like human civilization, and like the he speaks of, and I like that as a villain. This is actually one of my favorite parts of him as a villain. The being able to recognize that he doesn't know everything and understanding history enough to know that like he's utilizing William H. Macy's character to continue to educate himself about the things that were far before he ever existed. Whereas I think there's like a hubris, I guess would be the word, for like a villain to already feel like they're dominant and like he's already got control of this army. So what more do I need to know? And instead, he's like, they could speak across oceans, like they could do X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z, and all of this stuff. And he's like, I want that, and I think that the secrets to this are behind this wall, and that's where I need to get into it, and I think it's kind of proven true because in her mind, I can't let him have those secrets. I need to destroy those secrets, and there's more to it. You learn that there's essentially a, would you call it like a floppy, like a essentially like a floppy disk.
It's not really a floppy disk. We'll call it an encryption drive. That sounds cooler.
Okay, more advanced. So there's like a drive that she is actually there to get, that she hasn't told the apes that that's why she's there. And you
Yeah,
don't really know still. I think that that's one of the biggest unanswered questions is like, I still don't truly know what her motivations are because I think you're left to interpret it a couple different ways. Like, is she part of, because it essentially seems as though she was sent by this group, right?
that's
The
what I interpreted it
That's in
as.
the space, right? But why was she sent? Is she a part of this group? Or was she somebody they found and she's looking for a home? She's looking for a safe place. And it's like, if you want to, you can go. Was she sent out from this group with a larger group? And the part of the story that she's telling the truth about is, I was sent out with a larger group to try and get into this thing. They got killed and I was the only one left. And now she's trying to finish that mission, you know?
Where that's what I think is probably the case. The only thing I'm not sure of is how her initial involvement came to place with this group because it doesn't seem like she has like any relation to any of them.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, hey, like she might have been part of this group, but for how long? Like, was it something where she was raised there, or their objective clearly is like outreach and regrouping with other humans. So, like, is she someone they found previously?
And it goes to my question that I was asking before spoilers too, of like, how is this group existing? How are they scavenging for food? How are they moving around without being found? How have they existed? Because it's not like it's been 10 years, right? Like, it's been
Yeah,
hundreds of years. So the idea would be that they've run out of any rations that were set aside when the initial disease started to spread and the world started to shift towards apes being in charge. Like, all of that stuff's gone. So we're at a point now where they would have to have been living off of the land and they would have to be moving about. So they haven't just been trapped or locked themselves inside of this bunker essentially. Like, they have been out and about. So how have they been able to maintain that without being caught? How have the apes not come across this base at any point? I think there's a lot of questions there that you hope to get. I think my hopes for a second movie is the second movie is more focused upon the human side of it.
mm,
Maybe we follow more of what was her name? We got
May.
the May. Okay, maybe we follow more of her side of it in a sequel than we do Noah. Maybe it's more of like the movie follows along with, it's kind of like maybe like The Last of Us. How like The Last of Us, when you play the video game, you're playing from Joel's perspective for a lot of it, but then all of a sudden you're playing from name
Ellie.
Ellie. Thank you. I am just terrible with names.
I
Um
am too, but I'm surprised I got there.
so like, but yeah, you know how you like shift from, okay, now I'm seeing it from this perspective now. Like, maybe it's like this first movie is like very much setting up where the apes have been for the better part of this 100 years, but the next movie is, this is what the human side of it looks like and how they've survived and like what their goals are and what they're trying to accomplish. Because like, now at least that Noah really just like, they just want to live. Like, they just want to kind of be left alone. They're happy. They've been happy with what they had built. and they would have never left there where they were if they weren't disturbed by Proximus's group to begin with, you know.
Yeah.
And now even more so, I think he's strengthened by these ideals that Rocca's given him about what Caesar was, you know, and not what they were like. He didn't even know who he was before this, but like now it's like now that he knows and he knows the truth of like the apes together strong, and like I think it's more like we all should be peaceful and we're all building to have a better world. Like so, I think you have a lot of the questions of their motivations like kind of answered, and I think you want to have more answers now for what the human motivation should be.
Mm.
And so that's kind of what I hope to see, because I don't know. I like, because obviously the question with her is like they clearly, like humans, and I think this is like the natural case of things, like humans want to be back to being the dominant. Took that down the wrong hole.
Uh-huh.
uh,
Oh god.
but yeah, humans want to return to being the dominant species on the planet, right? And they're clearly still threatened by the apes, in the fact that she, once she has a gun, still rolls up to Noah, a person like an ape who I'm pretty sure she likes, right? Like
Yeah.
she doesn't dislike him, but is ready to roll up there with a gun and just be like, maybe I need to end this now, you know. And maybe that was more of a defense. I think that's another question you're left with, was like, was that an offensive move that she was looking to make, or was that a defensive thing because she was going there to apologize, but she knew she had fucked up and she didn't know how.
I think it was more defensive. I think she was there with the gun in case. I mean, obviously, like their visions don't fully align, and
And she had kind
I
of
think it
screwed
was.
them. She almost killed
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Like she almost killed his mother, his girl, who's not his girl yet, but like is his girl. You know, like she almost took a lot away from him with kind of her own selfish motivation. So I think you're right that it was probably more of a defensive play. Like, how is he going to handle this? But I do think it's interesting because I don't think that like anything from Noah, aside from the revenge aspect of like him making good on his father's murder, has shown to be a vengeful person, and he's clearly like softened his stance on humans in
Yeah.
this because of her. I don't know.
I think they're kind of framing him up to be like the new Caesar almost.
But different,
Maybe
like,
not entirely, but like you know what I mean. Like
because I
he's
think,
going to be like your leader of like the ideals on the
yeah,
bridge between human and ape coexisting.
for sure. But I don't know if they're going to tell the same story, because I think that that would be too much of a retread. I think a lot of this is going to end up with like, I think we are trending back towards humans versus apes. Like we've already done War of the Planet of the Apes, so you can't necessarily like retread the title. But I think that there's not really a way that this is going that it doesn't intersect with like some type of fight between them. And yeah, I think that he's going to be on the side of like maybe trying to play peace, but he's also seems like he's always going to protect his own first. I'd like to see how he's going to develop as far as like a leader is concerned, because he wasn't a leader, and a lot of this movie was setting him up to your point, be that leader of this group now. But he's not a fighter. Like, I don't know if he's going to turn
No.
into that, you know, if we're going to get a better understanding of him becoming a more physical, component, because like as of right now, he relied more on like swiftness, agility, and intelligence than he did, like he was crafty more than he was a strong fighter. Like whenever it was time to throw hands with somebody, like he kind of got his ass whooped a little bit.
Yeah.
He did enough to survive, but like when he finally takes down the big ape, it wasn't anything to do with physical components. He just outsmarted him,
Yeah.
and even to a point, like
I don't
he
hate
outsmarted.
that aspect either, like of him just like outsmarting to win his battles. Like I think it gives a different level to the battles he's in and kind of makes it a little bit more interesting.
And I think he'll probably need that with the humans
Yeah.
to a point, you know. Um, but I think it gets dicey because like the humans now have the ability to communicate, right?
Yeah.
So now that you have the ability to communicate with other places, does that mean you're establishing bigger armies, more manpower to go up against it, like more of a unified front? Like, what is that? What was their plan what's the next steps for the humans as far as now they have communication? Like, what are they going to do with that communication?
That's kind of part of like this movie just leaves you off with a bunch of questions.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
but I think they're
that's not
interesting
answered, but
questions.
yeah, no,
Like,
definitely.
I think that they're things that, like, when a sequel is ready to come out in probably 2 or 3 years, you're gonna be like, oh, I can't wait to see what they do with this, that, or the other,
Yeah.
and see the next steps in these characters. And I think that's why I liked it as much as I did, because I'm interested to see what they do to continue progressing the story. And I like, in a 9 movie stretch, I have to imagine they're going to miss at some point, but I don't think that they've really missed yet. Like, I think Rise is considered the worst of the 4 so far. Um, and I think that like Dawn and War are so good that it kind of leaves Kingdom as maybe just a touch below them, but it's an
Mm.
entry point to a new thing. So I think that that's okay. Where did you what do you end up giving this for, like, a score and a ranking?
Uh, it is fourth on my list at 3.5 stars.
Okay. I gave it I have it at second, and I gave it 4 stars.
Okay.
So
I have it behind Civil War and Fall Guy.
yeah, so I have Dune still in front of it, and then obviously, like, I have Fall Guy further down on my list than you do.
Mm.
But yeah, I definitely recommend people check it out. I liked it a lot. Dante liked it enough, has it in this top 5. So,
Yeah, no, it's still a good movie. I just don't think it was the pinnacle of movies that I was expecting, I guess.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe my expectations were too high.
No, I think at the end of the day, like, even if your expectations are high, I'd say 3.5 stars is meeting
Yeah, no, it's
expectations,
still a good movie. Like at no point did I want to say like it's a bad movie.
Do you
You know?
really quick, we didn't talk about this. So the movie cost 160 million. I believe that I had read that it did 120 or 130 in its opening weekend worldwide. So it's definitely on pace to be a success. You have Furiosa. You have one more week till Furiosa, so they have another week to hopefully
Oh, is
make.
that next week already?
Yeah, so you have
Oh
another
wow.
week to hopefully make another, between 50 to 100 million. I'd say is probably their goal, and you're probably looking at ending your theatrical run at between 400 and 500 is what I'd have to guess, which would make it a success. It's not as big, I guess. Dawn did 800 million, and I think
Okay.
War did 500 or 550. I assume you're looking that up.
Yeah, I was curious. Uh so Dawn did 700 million
Okay.
and or the Planet of the Apes did 500.
Yeah. So it's going to be slightly below War, I'd have to imagine. But
Yeah, I don't see it surpassing War.
and we're in a different theatrical world now. I think like movies don't have staying power in the theater as much anymore. Like, unless you're like the Dunes of the world.
It did
Um,
beat out War of the Planet of the Apes opening weekend by 2 mil though.
okay. So it could make it to 500. You have to consider though, with like long term longevity in the theater, like
Yeah.
what did War come out up against? When was the next big release? We don't know how big Furiosa is going to be too. I think that that could be interesting, because people Fury Road was very highly regarded and people loved it, but I don't know that the Mad Max franchise is some like gangbusters drawing franchise. So like I don't know how much people are anticipating that movie and how much money it's going to end up doing. I think that that's going to be an interesting one.
War of the Planet of the Apes was up against Spider-Man Homecoming.
How close? Like the same week, or
I think it was a week or two after.
it's better to do be after than before,
Yeah.
you know? So I think that you're running into like trail off with Homecoming of people who waited to see it or people who are seeing it a second or a third time. Like, so that's a little different than like having a big movie come out after you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what Furiosa did. I read that Like Anna Taylor Joy or whatever her name is, the girl who plays the main character in Furiosa, only has like 30 lines of dialogue in that whole movie.
I mean, based on the trailer, it's a lot of grunting, so I'm not surprised.
Well, in the original movie, well, not the original, but Fury Road wasn't like it's a lot. It's pretty much just nonstop action and a great like soundtrack and pace more than it is like a heavy dialogue movie. And I imagine Hemsworth probably has quite a bit of dialogue in this. Seems like he's going to be more the talker of the characters in it.
Uh,
Cool. Let's get into some like nothing crazy for news this week. A new Gerard Butler a movie just got announced. Called
is it good?
Empire State Building or yeah, like Empire State or something. And it's a movie in which I think he plays a firefighter and there's a patrol officer and they have a past history where they don't get along and they're tasked with like saving the Empire State Building, which is in a hostage situation.
I mean, his kind of movie, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I guess my point is like I will be seeing this. Um I don't anticipate it being great necessarily, but I will be seeing it.
His
Right up
movies
my
are very
alley.
hit or miss and nowhere in between.
Like yeah, but like he has a lane and he
Yeah.
essentially stays in it. And I'm fine with that. It's kind of like and like there's like a line in like his action movies where it's like there is that line of like some of his action movies I just don't really care about anymore, but like when he hits them pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd like to see another like Has Fallen movie.
Which that's what this kind of sounds like. I
No.
guess it's not like government, but yeah.
This teeters more to me on like Die Hard. Tall building, hostage situation. Teeters more on
Yeah.
that. How
Yeah.
you're gonna have a million floors to fight across. It's probably gonna end at the top of the Empire State Building.
On the
May-
helipad.
yeah, like maybe one of them jumping off with a hose tied around their waist, going through a window
Okay.
down below.
Yeah. This
Um,
already sounds better.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounds classic, actually.
Yeah.
Uh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith got renewed for a second season.
Oh, I haven't even watched season one.
Very, very good season one. I'm super happy because they leave season one at like what's going to happen next. Very much
Mm,
so. And the fact that it has been like 5 months and it hadn't been renewed is kind of like I was getting to that point where are we not going to get a second? I kind of just always assumed we were getting a second one with how they ended the first season because it would have been one of those super disappointing things with the way that they built the first season out to not get a second season of it.
I see. Yeah.
So shout out to Donald Glover for making a comeback.
Is
Last
he
thing
gone?
well, no, but he's doing like he's back to doing music.
Is he?
And you got the Lion King. Uh
Was he the
and
one that I think I saw something where he's like doing one last album and that's it for his music career?
I I don't buy that kind of stuff though, just because like it's not you can decide 5-6 years from now to take some time off and write an album, you know? Like music's like something that I think's ingrained in you. And it's like
Yeah.
when you have an idea or you become passionate about it. I do respect not wanting to just put out something for the sake of putting it out, right? So like if he's been recently inspired to write and that's making him go back in and record an album and it's like I'm gonna take time off now, I respect that. But I imagine he'll have more music come out at some point. He's too good to not have music coming out ever again.
You're a fan.
Uh I definitely liked I didn't so his last album was more like experimental, I guess would be the way I'd put it, with the
Yeah.
sounds and stuff that he used and like it wasn't as much rap. And I liked it. Like I thought it was a vibe, but it wasn't like it's not as good as like Freaks and Geeks and like things like that. Like those earlier songs are like more the style of him that I'd like to hear.
Yeah.
But I like him. I like him a lot. I think he's super talented. I think he's a super talented like person. just in general.
Definitely, yeah.
Like a great actor and a great musician. And I always appreciate people who can like live in both worlds and aren't just like making music for the sake of making music. It's like, no, when that dude makes music, it's like classic music, you know,
Yeah.
Redbone.
That's actually the song that was playing in my head as we were talking about his
Yeah.
music.
But like, you know what I mean? Like that song's not really like, it's not like his earlier music,
No, no, not at
you
all,
know,
but that is almost what I'm setting my expectations to be for this next album.
which is fine. I like that album. That's truly, I think I heard that whole album first and I was like, this is super creative and like musically it's a vibe, but it's not like crazy on like a lyrical front. But then you
No.
listen to his earlier songs and you're like, wait, this dude can like rap.
Yeah.
Like if he wants to just be lyrical, like he can do that. He's just choosing to go more in this direction of a vibe and like musical sounds, you know. Uh Last thing, did you see the trailer for season 2 of That 90s Show?
No, I didn't.
So it came out. It looks fine, you know. Not a lot of like it had already been confirmed by Mila Kunis that her and Ashton Kutcher aren't returning for this season. But you have Donna, which is Laura Rapulli or something like that. She's in it. You have Red and Kitty back. You have Bob, who's in this. I
Okay.
think Cheech and Chong dude is in this too. So you do have a mix of some of your older characters making appearances in this series. But yeah, it's all the kids are back together. It's coming out in 2 parts. So you have part 1 coming out in June, you have part 2 coming out in October.
Wonder why they would do it like that.
Netflix does that.
Do they?
Yeah, so I think you're probably going to get like 8 episodes for part 1 and you'll probably come back with another 8 episodes in October. Which I don't mind. It's been so long since you've had a season of this show that I almost don't mind getting it twice in a year and just getting 2 drops of it.
Splitting it up to get it to you sooner.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's not something I have high expectations, but we talked about it like a month or 2 back that it was something that you know, we enjoyed and I wouldn't have minded getting a second season of it. I was kind of hoping we would, and I'm glad we are. It's a world, like it's a universe that I kind of like being able to still go back into. And like Red still has some funny one-liners in the trailer.
Oh yeah.
He's still sticking feet in asses, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I hope that never stops. I hope that
Yeah.
man's foot never stops finding its way to an ass.
He did soften up in this a little bit, but I like that he still has that spark to him.
Yeah, yeah. There's just like I can't remember the line, but there's a funny scene where him and Bob are sitting on the couch with like Kelso's kid in between them, and he's like talking about he's like talking to his foot about where it's gonna find where it's gonna find itself. Like I think that that's
Love
very
that.
funny. Cool. Dante, do you have it?
Do, do you have it?
Taste?
Ace.
I try to get there a little before you. I think you always go to me, but then when I listen to it back, we're usually like we've gotten pretty good on like the timing. I think I was a shade late there, but like we've gotten a lot better at the timing of
Yeah.
it. So let's start with movie review. We got one more movie theater review, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to go viewing experience first? Because we both had like interesting. We didn't
We
go
have
to
very different
traditional.
viewing
Yeah,
experiences. Yeah.
neither one of us went to traditional theaters. I think I'm gonna start TikToking, Dante.
What?
Yeah, I think I want to start like my like this movie theater tour that I'm on.
Yeah.
I think I want to start dropping reviews, but you know,
Okay.
I gotta figure out how to do it. Like I don't know how people do those voiceover things.
That's easy.
Okay, because like I don't want to talk over it. I think I just want to like film like the walking into the theater.
And then voice it over after.
Yeah, like the concession area, like some of the other stuff, and then the theater itself, and then yeah, just drop like the voiceover stuff after. But I don't want to voice it over myself. I want to do like the maybe like the
Oh,
maybe a little like
yeah.
the I could voice it over myself, but maybe just like text to
The
speech thing.
TikTok AI voice.
Yeah, yeah, I might do that. But yeah, I think I want to start doing that because like I'm on 4 or 5 different theaters this year.
Well, I know we went to that one in Rhode Island.
So you still have Braintree, South Bay, you have Rhode Island, Framingham, and now I've gone to the Commons.
Yeah.
So like I want to go to Assembly. I think there's one in Saugus.
Is there?
I think there is. I don't know. Tell us about your movie experience, your movie theater experience, since you didn't go to an AMC.
I did not go to an AMC. I went to the Coolidge Corner Theater in Brookline. Um, it's something that like a friend of ours said they wanted to go to, and I had never been there, so I was curious to check it out. It's a very old theater, and it very much still looks old even when you're in there. But it's a vibe. I liked it. I mean, like the cinema that we were in basically was just an auditorium, like straight up auditorium seats and everything. Like the fucking projector screen was behind a stage, like front row was in front of a stage, and like it had some like really cool like I don't know like tiling and like ceiling work. Like it was vibey. I liked it.
How's the
Um,
popcorn?
the popcorn there was not great.
You couldn't? Could you butter it yourself? I doubt it.
No, no. Actually, I ordered the popcorn and she goes, buttered or not buttered? And I go, ah.
Buttered, please.
Butter it generously, please.
Yeah, make it extra.
But I think they just had like batches because I didn't see them add butter to it. They just had like different buckets that they were going to for it.
Was it fairly buttered or like?
It was decently buttered. I think my bigger issue with the popcorn was it was definitely burnt.
Oh, what was the portion like? Was it a bucket?
Yeah, it was a bucket. It was a fine portion. It's
I,
just the
I
same
assume the
portion we get at,
prices
like
were
AMC.
good.
It actually wasn't that different.
Really? What was the cost of your ticket?
The tickets were $15, I think.
So it's still like that. See, that's my problem. Like, I like the vintage theater idea, but
I think
you're
I
not
think
getting.
based on the movie I went to see, I think if I went to like a more obscure movie or something, it might have been a different price. But
But even the popcorn and like the concession prices, like I think that like I don't think you should pay like fucking $5, but I think that like a vintage theater should have more of a vintage cost associated to it.
fair.
I'm not. You don't even allow me to butter my own popcorn. Like if I'm paying you $15 a bucket, invest in putting a little thing where I can put butter on it.
Oh no, not $15 for the popcorn. I was talking about $15 for the movie ticket.
Yeah, but you said the tickets. I mean, the concessions were
Oh
like
yeah,
similarly cost. So like
they were about the same
we
price.
pay
Yeah.
$17 for a large drink and a large popcorn at AMC.
The difference here is I didn't bring a drink. I'm sorry, I brought a drink. I didn't buy a drink.
Okay, you just walked in with
Um,
it, or did you have to like keister?
no, I just had a bottle of water I walked in with.
So you didn't keister it.
No.
I just know like you when you have to go places you can't bring things, you generally keister them.
It actually might have been more. I think it was $16 for the ticket.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
highway robbery
Yeah.
for not Dolby sound and like
Oh no, the sound was probably my biggest gripe with it.
I get they
Because
have to charge the money because not enough people are probably going to the theater.
so that's actually a funny thing though, is the theater was packed.
Really?
I mean, granted I went on a Friday night, so I feel like it would have been packed anyways.
And
But
you
like,
went to a movie that nobody should care about.
I know.
Like,
This
we
is
haven't
why I was
even
surprised.
we haven't even gotten into that fact yet. But like why were people like fucking?
Dude, so I had 7 o'clock tickets, I think, or 7:15 or whatever, right? And we got there like maybe 10 minutes early. And it was already a struggle to find a seat.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Not
it's
assigned
not. I was
seating
gonna
there.
say it's not assigned seating. You just go in and
Yeah.
fight
And
for it.
so I'm going with a group of 4 people, and trying to find 4 adjacent seats was a nightmare.
Would it be adjacent or together?
Same thing.
I don't know if it is.
4 adjacent seats, 4 seats side by side.
Is
You're
it-
gonna Google the definition of adjacent now?
Just keep talking.
Think I'm using
dude.
it wrong?
No, just keep. I'm not googling adjacent.
You fucking asshole.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I know I am.
No, but I wasn't Googling. I was just
Oh, okay,
no,
okay,
I was
okay.
checking something else. I had a text.
Oh, I gotcha, I gotcha. But yeah, we ended up having to sit like second row from the back. And I told you how this cinema was set up is it's basically auditorium style, and all the way up front you have a stage with the screen behind it. What it sounded like is all the audio was coming from up where the screen was.
So like you felt
So
like you were far away from what was happening.
yeah, very far away.
So I went to the AMC in Boston Commons. So I went to a city location. Um, and I think the reason, like I've already been thinking about doing the TikTok review thing, but I just felt like there was a few things, like whether it would be the parking, like documenting
Okay.
the parking situation for it. Um, so like it took me, I had to circle the block on them. Because I had gone on my maps and it said public parking, but public parking was actually the private entrance to the parking garage. So I had to circle back and go to the other side of the garage where the public entrance was. So it took me like 10 minutes to 15 minutes to park. Like the elevator situation took forever. Because I was full. So on top of that, because the parking garage is shared by a hotel, half of the parking garage is split into valet. And so I was like, well, I pulled down the first level. I was like, oh, there's all these empty spots on the left. I go to the pull to the left and there's just a fucking valet stop. And I'm like, okay, so I can't park here. That fucking sucks. So I had to get out of that area, which was kind of a pain in the ass. And then down the next level, no empty parking spots. Down the next level, no empty parking spots. So I was all the way on level 4 before I found a spot that was open. And then like the elevator, I don't know, these two girls, like they kind of fucked me because like they hit the button. They didn't literally. It would, like I wouldn't have done it anyways. I wasn't interested. But like they hit the button. It They like went to get in the thing and they got like scared by the elevator. So they got out and they sent that one back and they called for another one.
What do you mean another one?
Like there's two elevators and they got into one and got back out of it and opted to not take that one. And then
Like there was nobody else in there?
no, they just like. So I heard they kind of said something when we got in there, because when we got into the elevator, like the door starts closing really quick, and I don't know if it like scared them or something, but they were like we I hate elevators like this, um, and like they were just like already like on edge about it, and I was like, all right, like this is fucking weird.
They must have seen The Omen. I had a fear of elevators for a long time because of that movie.
Pretty Little Liars season 7,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I had to
uh,
bring back up PLL. Huh?
yeah. Is there a Final Destination scene with an elevator?
I've only seen one of the Final Destination movies, and that one definitely didn't have it. So,
Speed 1 has an elevator sitch.
mm. Was it?
Halloween H2O.
Never seen that
He's
one.
trying to get into like one of those little dumbwaiter elevators that they use in like kitchens, and he closes the fucking thing down on the dude's leg, so the elevator goes down and it catches his leg and it,
Rips them off.
or it's a girl, I
Hell
think,
yeah,
but yeah, it snaps the leg off. She's like dragging it behind her. Um,
sick.
that's elevator stories. So I get to the theater and I was kind of looking forward to going to this theater because in my mind I was like, a city theater should be a nice theater, right? Like in my head, I was like, a lot of people go to this one. It should be nicer. But at the same time, when I walked
You got to
in,
remember it's an old theater, and I
that's what
don't
I
think
was.
it's been renovated in a long time.
That's what I was going to say. It's like what I realized as I walked in is like, oh, it is like I'm sure that there are aspects of this theater that are newer, but the theater that I'm going to is on the first floor. So I think the upstairs ones are updated, like updated with newer seating and like shit like that. But the first floor ones, it's like you walk in and it's like it's very old school, like entrance ways, and it's kind of confusing because like the tickets, like you go to your specific area where your theaters are for them to take your tickets, which I guess like makes
Similar to like
sense.
Showcase and
Yeah, I was gonna
Randolph,
say
right?
Showcase is like kind of like that. So like I was in the section for theaters 1 and 2, and it was like I was expecting to walk in and have it be kind of like AMC that we go to, where it's like handicap is it was going to be in front of everything, but generally in like South Bay, there's a wall behind you and like they sit above you. So you're not like people aren't right on top of you. And I go to sit down in my seats and it's like, oh, everything's kind of like the seats for the first row are like a foot up elevated, not it's like one step up. And there's only a railing in between us. So like literally, and it's like the old seats. It's like the fold down seats, not like sofa
Like
chairs.
the auditorium style
Yeah,
seats.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like when I go to movies that one aren't like ones that I'm like super excited about, but two, when I go by myself, I'm more liberal with like I'll pull up my phone every once in a while. I had some bets I wanted to get in. Like I was following like the Celtics were playing that night, so like I wanted to be able to kind of check in on things while I was in the theater, and I didn't want people like directly over my shoulder while I'm doing that. I also like hit my vape and shit, so I just didn't want people like literally like it felt like they would have been like right on my back. So I sat off to the side, the handicap seating off to the side, which is also weird because there's a set of it was kind of cool in a way. I think like if I went with more than like just myself, it's interesting. So it's like one seat that's on ground level. Then there's a little tiny platform. And up on this platform, there's two seats. And then in front of that, there's two more seats. So it's a set of 5 seats in the handicap section that are all kind of in a little cluster together. So I feel like it'd
Weird
be cool,
setup.
like if you're going with like a few people, because like you could still all sit together there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like I sat down. I'll say that that's my only real complaint because from like an actual like the screen quality and the sound quality were all solid. Like they were all good. I actually noticed quite a few times like the surround sound was really good. Like I could
Okay.
hear like stuff behind me and things like that. So I was kind of impressed with that. But it was everything else leading up to it that I didn't like. I also didn't mention that I bought my drink and my soda, and the dude was like, "The drink machine's not working,"
Oh yeah.
and he was like, "You're gonna have to go upstairs if you want to get that." He's like, "I can return it if you want." And initially, I was like, "I'm all set," and then I thought about it, and the movie was already starting at this point because I was a few minutes late, and I was like, "I don't want to walk upstairs like at all." So I exchanged it for a bottle of Sprite. But yeah, that's my movie review, movie theater review, for
Yeah.
AMC. So the other ones I want to go to really quickly. You have Causeway.
Oh yeah. I've been wanting to go to that one for a
There's
while, but
Causeway.
parking scares me there.
I want to go to Assembly. And then there's Burlington, Danvers, Dartmouth, and
Methuen.
Methuen.
Yeah.
I'm hitting all the Massachusetts ones this year. I think
Yeah.
the
All right.
The Methuen one's kind of tough. 33 miles to go to a movie.
The Methuen one, though, I think is going to be a good one to keep in the cuff for some of those movies that they don't play in South Bay and Braintree that we might be interested in.
Okay.
Because I've definitely looked a few times, and there's been like movies where it's like, fuck, I missed this one, and it's like, oh shit, they're still playing it in Methuen if I really want to drive out there.
Yeah, that one's interesting to me. Like Burlington, 23 miles isn't that bad. Like Burlington's actually closer than Framingham from a miles perspective.
Yeah.
Same thing with Danvers. Danvers is only
Okay.
21 miles away.
Doesn't sound as bad when you put it in miles, but considering on any of those locations you have to drive kind of through Boston,
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
traffic is also a factor.
Yeah, you have to pick the right times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna try and make it to those. So let's talk about the movie since we've done a million other things but talk about the movie. Uh
We haven't even said what movie.
yeah, so we saw I saw the TV Glow.
Yeah.
Separate viewings, obviously.
Yeah.
This was actually when Dante thought he was sneaking by on me. And I unintentionally like I promise you, it's not one of those ones where I looked at your list. Like I just we'd seen the trailer for this,
Yeah.
and I like horror movies, and this movie's listed as a
It's
horror movie.
A24 too.
Yeah, it's listed as a horror movie. It's A24, and I like Justice Smith, so I was like I kind of want to check this out, and it's only like an hour and a half long, so it's kind of the right length to just go and see how it is type deal. And it was a
Yeah.
time that worked, and I wanted to see it in a different theater like that. It was the only theater playing it, to be fair, that was AMC. Like if it was in Braintree or something, I probably would have just gone and seen it there. I don't even
Yeah.
know if it ever got a release in Braintree, in all honesty.
No, it didn't
Yeah,
because I'd been looking.
because it had been out a week prior to us seeing it.
Yeah.
So my initial vibe when the movie starts it felt like an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah,
Like the whole movie's like tone and like
kind of set up
vibe
around that. Yeah.
is like very Are You Afraid of the Dark? And so it's even kind of hard to explain. Like, so the movie is about these two kids in high school that start watching this show, the Pinko Pay.
Big
And
opaque. Yep.
it's like, I don't even know why the show is weird. It's just like one of those things where, like, when they're watching it as kids, the show seems way more like intense and everything. That like we all probably felt like things when you watch it as a kid, but if you went back and watched it, and he kind of says this, like he starts watching it on streaming when he's older, and he's like all the things that I remembered, and it's like this is kind of like cheesy,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but it's him and this girl, and he doesn't really like talk to anybody or have any friends, and she is like a pseudo friend to him when she's a couple years older because she invites him over to her house to watch this show. And then he isn't allowed to stay up and watch it every night. So she starts giving him the shows every week to watch. And it becomes his favorite TV show. It's hers too. They don't really talk a ton. And then like they kind of start to talk again when they're a bit older in high school. And she plans for them to run away together. And full spoilers, by the way. Like this is when we do the
Yeah.
second ones. Generally, like I'm not going to 3, 2, 1 yet. Um, and like so, she goes missing for years, and he goes on and just does like the lamest jobs possible, but I like kind of jobs that I think like if they paid better, I'd be cool doing. Um, like he works at a movie theater, which I'm like, I'd love to do that, but I just can't
Yeah.
think of it being like a feasible career choice. And then he works at like a like a Dave and Buster's basically.
Yeah.
Uh, and like she shows up again, and it's so hard. Like I'm like I don't know how to describe this movie, like because it doesn't
It's
like
just fucking weird.
it doesn't. I don't understand what it was. Like I actually meant to look this up before we pod it, like to have this movie explained to me.
Uh, so apparently the because I briefly looked up something on it, and I think it had to do with like trans people. Because
What?
like
I don't get it.
I, I can subtly get how it relates, but that's apparently what the
Well,
tone is
like
supposed to be. I
because
can't remember if the
okay,
director put that in play, but yeah, basically because like they're setting it up like he's actually the girl in the show.
well, so that's definitely true. That like
Yeah.
it's the TV show that they're watching is about two girls, and she says that like you're like this character, and then they start showing him wear a dress, and he's like sexually ambiguous, right? Like he's not really interested. Like she's asking him, like she like when he wants to hang out again, she's like, I don't like I'm into girls, you know that, right? And he's like, yeah, like, and she's like, are you into girls too? And he's like, I don't know, like I'm kind of I don't think I'm into anybody. Like I'm
Yeah, he
kind of
goes, "I
just like
don't know. I like TV shows."
so I'm trying to read like something to give myself
Yeah,
context.
trying to figure it out.
Uh,
Um, I mean, I could see where that take comes from, but I actually linked it more to like the Matrix being like in a reality that's not reality, and there's another reality out there, kind of thing.
I just want to read this Reddit really quickly.
Yeah.
So I skipped the whole first paragraph, and then there's a bunch of like redacted stuff because they don't want to give away plot details, I guess. But
Oh,
it's
okay.
like, and this is where it gets to what you're talking about. So the second paragraph is like, and apparently I was completely wrong about this. After seeing it, I read a bunch of articles analyzing and explaining the movie, and apparently the whole thing is the allegory of being trans and being willing to take the leap into transitioning. Here's the issue. I really have no idea how I was supposed to get these themes unless I read about the themes ahead of time, and or I knew that the writer or director of this film was trans themselves. There was one element that might have seemed obvious in retrospect, another redacted part, and he's like, but it really wasn't during this. Oh wait, I can actually get rid of the redacted stuff. It's just like if I click on it,
It's just the spoiler alert. Yeah.
yeah.
You're gonna read out loud.
So no, I there's a lot to read. Like, there are long
Ah,
paragraphs in there. So like I kind of like I get it more reading that now, right? Like the whole, like when she's telling him to like bury yourself and then like find your way out of it,
yeah.
essentially, is like you're
Kind of
burying it.
kill your former
Yeah,
self
you're like
to
burying yourself
reemerge.
down to come back out as like your true form of yourself, is like what that's supposed to be
Yeah.
relating to. How is this a horror movie?
There's no there was no suspense, no scary, nothing.
It's just fucking like the whole time. And to be fair, on a positive note, some of the dialogue I actually enjoyed. Like, some of it I
Yeah.
thought was like well written. There's one scene in particular I thought was terrible, and that's the scene on the bleachers where she
Yeah.
starts doing the rant about like the girl like that she doesn't like anymore. And I was like, holy shit, this is like the worst acted, like sounds like it's from like a high school TV show shit that I've ever
Yeah.
like seen in my life. But like everything else I thought was like the dialogue, like I was following and like I was like watching and like intently like excuse me, like trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
I found myself throughout the entire movie just mumbling to myself, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, like it's like impossible to explain without somebody seeing it. And then like because of how weird it is, I know that there's people who are gonna swear like by this being like a
The best
masterpiece.
movie ever.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like it's so deep and it has these fucking underlying meanings. But like to this person on Reddit's point, unless I read shit, the meanings are not clear to you
No, not at all.
whatsoever.
It doesn't clearly deliver its
Because
message.
like even her explaining like you need to bury yourself and all of this stuff, and you're like, what the fuck is she talking about right now? Like what is going on, dude? And like the scene with like when they're in the Pinko Pay and he's like the sun dude is like having them take the drink and they're throwing up and he cuts the hearts out and like
Oh
all of
yeah,
this
yeah,
shit. And I'm like, what is this? Is just trippy and fucking weird. Like, but it makes no sense. The only
yeah.
part that like was interesting was when he slams his head into the TV.
Oh yeah.
Did
And
that?
I thought he was gonna go into the show, and I was like,
Yes.
I didn't even get that.
Yeah, but then like, how is he? Did he really throw his head into the TV?
The whole point is you don't know.
Because like the dad saves him, right?
But then you never see the dad again after
His
that.
dad dies like
Oh
immediately
yeah, yeah,
after.
yeah. That's what happened. Yeah, yeah,
Like shortly after that, his dad's dead. But like he threw his head through a fucking TV, and he like has to take him to the shower and all this stuff. I,
yeah.
yeah, I don't even know how to really like. I'll
It's
I'll
just,
just keep repeating things that didn't make sense to me during this whole movie, dude.
I mean, like at the end of the day, right? Like there were some things in the soundtrack I enjoyed.
Yeah,
There was definitely some scenes that looked, you know, visually appealing. Um, but by the end of it, I was just kind of like, what did I just watch?
like
Like,
it's
what was the point of all this?
and it's like one of those ones where it ends and you're like, oh, okay, that's over.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just like one of
And it's
those
funny
things.
because like the theater I went to, right? Like everybody throughout the movie was very like vocal. Like you could hear like during various different scenes where people are just like, "What the fuck? Like, what is this?"
My theater was not packed like yours, but it was like
Okay,
respectably filled for an audience. And there was a younger group of kids in the very middle of the theater who I could hear talking at a couple different points. And it was kind of like laughter, like what the fuck's going on?
the
But like,
like by the time like the movie's over, like you could just hear from all corners of the theater, like, "What the fuck was that?"
yeah. Because even like when he gets old, and so here's the part that I don't understand. Like he's like, I have a family now.
They never showed the
That you
family.
never see the family, and I'm like, how did he meet the
Yeah.
family? He doesn't even like girls or guys. Like, how did he land a woman? Because he said openly, like, I can't even talk to this girl who I've been friends with and has done nice stuff for me for a while. Like, I can't even talk to her. And we never saw an evolution of him being able to speak to people. So what? How did
No,
he
if
end up?
anything, it looked the same. Yeah.
And like, how satisfied was his wife with his job as like a
Arcade employee. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like yeah,
I don't even know what he did there.
and like the aging thing, like he's like 40, but he's like looks like he's 70 and he's dying from an asthma attack. Uh I thought that that scene was probably one of the better scenes is when he's in like the thing with them singing happy birthday.
It was a great scene to speak to like his ability as an actor. I think
Yeah.
like the whole like mental breakdown and everything was very
Like and everybody
good.
just
I
going
guess.
completely still and like
Well, that's more where I was drawing it back to like the Matrix. I was like, oh, they're not real. Like everything just froze.
yeah. Like does that movie go a different plot if he doesn't tackle her in the football field in the most awkward tackle of all time? Like his tackle in Runaway is very funny, actually. That's where I'm like, this movie's not a horror movie. This movie's like a weird comedy. Like because shit like that, like when he tackles her, it's like the softest tackle possible. And then he has the funniest run to like run
Yeah.
away from her on the football field. He's like, I'm gonna get the fuck
Oh,
out of here.
God. Yeah. No, it was great.
When he shows up at
Um,
the like friend's mom's house and he's like, I need you to narc on me. I've been lying forever about what I've been doing, and I've been saying I'm sleeping over at your house. Just tell on me. Like, they won't like don't let me rat myself out, but like
yeah.
snitch on me, please. I need to get grounded. This bitch is crazy.
Oh man.
Like,
Yeah.
it,
I mean, like there was shit like that where it's just like, sure, there were funny moments in it, but it's just like
but are they
it
supposed to be
still is like,
funny?
what the fuck is going on?
Like,
Yeah, I don't even know if it
like
was supposed to be funny.
I don't know what this movie was supposed to make me feel, and it bothers me.
I'm still trying to figure out how they classify it as a horror, but then when I try to think of a genre to fit it in, I don't know what I would classify it as.
Yeah, like a dramedy
Not even that though.
because it's not intentionally funny.
Like, do you just label it as like a fantasy?
Yeah, like I just put it as indie, like it's an indie movie.
It's very much an indie movie.
Yeah. All right. I don't know what more we can say. Like you don't need to watch this. It's fucking. It's just fucking weird. And I'm not even saying I hate it. I'm gonna read more of these Reddit articles after we get
And
off of here to
reevaluate.
like really try to like understand what the fuck I watched.
You're
Uh
gonna read all the comments that say, "Oh, you hate it because you don't get it."
yeah. Like, yeah. What do you know? Like trans people? It's like I didn't even know it was
Yeah.
about trans people.
Now we have to put it as number one, otherwise we look like
Yeah,
we're
yeah. Like this movie did not make it clear what it was trying to accomplish at all to me.
yeah.
I thought it
I have no idea.
a little pink
None of the stuff I
highlighter,
thought I was gonna get out of this movie made sense.
and I knew it was weird watching the trailer already, but I was like,
I mean, yeah, but I thought it was gonna be like
it's a
explained.
it says
You
it's
know
a
what I mean?
horror movie and like the trailer's weird, so I was like, okay, like there's got to be more to this. Like I thought they were going to go in to the pink opaque and it was going to be
Yeah.
like or it was going to start blending worlds on him and it was going to get
What I
weird.
didn't realize is the trailer actually gave you the whole movie.
I haven't watched it since we saw it in the theater that one time. I thought that she was
But
also going to like turn on him when he was like I don't want to go with you. Like I thought at some point the horror was going to be like she's going to like try to kill him
yeah.
because she's clearly like coming off as unhinged.
Yeah, she came back like super intense.
Yeah. And like living by different names. And she get like her story, like, yeah, I paid some dude to bury me. And he packed the dirt so tight that nobody could hear me fucking scream. They never explained how she got out of that, by the way. Like she's like, I shit and pissed myself. They can't tell me that this movie wasn't trying to be funny. Like,
I think it towed on like some dark comedy.
where do you have this ranked?
I don't know. It was fucking down there. Uh, I had it at 23 out of 25.
Me too.
Oh, really? And I gave it 2 stars.
Yeah, I have it 23 out of 25. I somehow think that Tarot and ISS are worse. Like, I,
I mean, this had some redeeming qualities with some of the visuals and It made me laugh maybe once or twice, and ultimately, I just came out of it thinking like, "Damn, maybe I just don't get it."
Well, that's where I was like, this movie is somehow like I. That's why I knew I had to look up like an explained like thread about this movie,
Yeah.
because I am like, there is something that this movie has for an underlying message that I just can't grasp. That is just not clear to me, but I know that there's something here because they don't make movies like this without having some message that I'm supposed to be like
You
able to
really
pick
wanna
up
fuck
on.
yourself up and make yourself think you didn't get it? Just look at the Letterboxd reviews.
Okay, I'll do that.
Letterboxd has it as an average of 3.7
Yeah, no,
stars.
I noticed that. I definitely noticed that, and I
Like,
was like,
everything set me up to think this was gonna be a better movie than it was.
yeah, I don't know how I have it like where it is, but yeah, it does have a very high review. But like
Yeah.
I think that's probably the people who are like I can't give it a bad score. How come I can't just click on the rating to see reviews?
Right under it, the gray box where it says reviews, you hit that to see the reviews.
I don't have a great. Oh, okay, no, it's a little below that. I see it.
Yeah.
Was stunned and speechless for a few seconds after finishing this one. Don't know what else to say other than it got right under my skin in a way few films ever have.
I don't know where you got that effect.
With nightmarish sights and sounds already seared into my memory, I knew this one would hit hard for obvious reasons. And she has like a little flag that I assume, yeah.
Probably the trans flag, okay.
Um, but even after going in with awareness, I still wasn't fully prepared for how hard it would hit me. A devastating depiction of the all consuming, soul crushing nature of repression and how nostalgia can both be an escape and a prison. Trans art is so essential, especially in times like these. And I can't emphasize that enough. It feels like I've been waiting for this film my whole life, but hey, it's better late than never. I think this person's cheating because I don't think that you should be allowed to go into this movie knowing what the fuck you're watching ahead of time. Like this person had an unfair advantage of both clearly being of the of that like
Of the
letter,
target
yeah,
community.
that letter in the community, and then
Yeah.
also knowing what the fuck they were watching. And I don't even know now that I know what it's about, I don't know if I watched it again that I would understand it any better, in all honesty. Like I kind of get like the themes of like the repression. Like I get that. I don't really understand the nostalgia and how that ties into repression. Like I understand how like I said at the beginning of this, I get how like the nostalgia not adding up when you get older. Like I understood that aspect of it because I think that that's super relatable, but
Yeah.
like I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to read more of these, and they're just gonna infuriate me. The
Yeah.
the nightmarish sights and sounds. Which ones?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was when the person was screaming at the concert in the bar.
Okay, this one doesn't make sense. When he walks out of the house to go meet her at the football field, why were those two kids just waiting at the end of his like walkway?
Don't remember that.
So like he has to go. He has that panic attack and like throws his head through the TV from
Yeah, yeah.
watching the last episode, and then he has to go meet her to go, and she's gonna tell him the rest of like the plan. And he walks out of the house and there's just these two random people standing outside of his house. And the only thing I can think is that they were the ones who were going to bury him.
I don't know. I don't know.
All right, I just got one other one. That's an insane film. That's a nightmare. Those are some of the most frightening sequences I've ever seen since Hereditary, a movie I've never seen but is said to be like extremely fucked up. The immediate reaction this film got out of me was the craziest thing I've experienced in my 27 years of film watching. Every so often comes a film that feels monumental, not necessarily in scale like Dune 2, uh, but in its influence and its captivating expression. It's almost intimidating to even discuss, and it's weird talking about it after one viewing, knowing how much more I'll pick up after the second watch. I'm not reading the rest of this, but what the fuck are people watching?
And this is why I like reading the Letterboxd reviews, because they always make me feel like I just didn't get it.
Like these guys are giving this 5 stars and saying it changed their lives.
Uh-huh.
You know, did you see who a producer was on this movie?
No, I didn't.
Emma Stone.
Oh, I did see that actually.
I thought I had to double check because I saw it at the credits. And I was
Yeah.
like, is that a different Emma Stone? It's not. It's her.
The Emma Stone. Yeah.
By the way, the next line after those two paragraphs, this is an essential piece of filmmaking.
Essential.
Wasn't for me. Respect to all these people. I'm not saying they're wrong by any means, because like we're all gonna have different places that we come from, like when we watch shit.
Yeah.
And this is kind of my point about the AMC thing, looping back to the beginning, right? I hated this. But there was somebody who might not have seen this movie that it's going to impact on some scale that we can't even fucking recollect. You know, like
it's kind of crazy how that works.
all right, I'm done. We've burned 25 minutes on a movie that I like.
Yeah.
And I haven't advanced any more than under like I guess realizing that it's about trans stuff. Like
Yeah.
okay.
Speaking of movies that weren't for me, I went to Screen Unseen last night.
Oh, okay.
And it turned out to be the movie Babes.
Lesbian movie?
No, not lesbians.
It was just two girls on the cover. I assumed it was a lesbian movie.
You would think, right? I'm actually looking at the cover now, and I can see where you.
It's called Apes, and it's two girls like touching cheeks, dude. Like I just assumed it was like, I assumed it was going to be like what was that high school movie that with Fight Club thing that we watched?
Oh yeah, I forget the name of it now. It wasn't Bottoms. It was the other.
Yeah,
one.
it is Bottoms.
It is Bottoms.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Bottoms is what I was talking about.
Bottoms one. Okay.
I thought it like the cover gave me that vibe. I've not seen a trailer. I don't know anything about it.
So it's basically to lay out what it's about, right? It's two girls that have been best friends their entire life, and one of them is a single woman, and the other one is a woman with a family. Who it basically starts out with she's pregnant and she's going into labor, and the whole movie is basically just like following like I guess their relations, and then like the single friend gets pregnant with a one night stand, and now they're both pregnant. I don't know. It's fucking weird, man.
Wait,
Like
so one's pregnant and then what?
one's pregnant, has her baby, and then shortly after the other one gets pregnant with a one night stand.
Okay. Is this a comedy?
It is a comedy.
Is it funny?
That's kind of where I'm going back to this wasn't for me. Is I would say half the theater you would swear it's the funniest movie they've ever seen in their life. Whereas I couldn't even smirk at half this shit. But a lot of it was like definitely jokes geared towards women. Like a lot of it was like pregnant jokes and like nipples getting fucked up from breastfeeding and like shit like that that just didn't relate to me at all.
Where
Like,
do
I
they
was just
rank
like,
on
okay,
movie
this is fucking
breasts
weird.
for you?
There were no movie breasts.
So you don't see the nipples fucked up?
No.
Can't immerse myself.
No, you can't. But like this is another one of those ones where like I got out of there and I was like, okay, clearly I have a very different impression than the rest of the people in that theater, but it was also all I heard was female laughter. And there were definitely guys in that theater.
Okay, so like there was dudes in there with like their girls, like for a date night that were like, this was
Which
a bad
I would
decision.
say I would say for like if this was like the objective, like a date night movie, probably a good one if you can endure it. Because your girl will come out of there in such a good mood.
Yeah.
They all loved it.
Will she want to get pregnant after this?
I don't know. I think the movie in itself was a contraceptive because it wasn't highlighting the glories of pregnancy at all.
Okay.
Like it was a comedy and like there was stuff that I feel like should have been funny, but I just couldn't find myself finding it funny. And I started questioning, like, damn, do I just like not get it? Because like people are like cackling, like literally like gasping for air, and I'm over here like, whatever. Like there were maybe two scenes that made me laugh. There was one in particular that I thought was hilarious. Um, we're doing spoilers, so whatever. I'll
Yeah.
lay it out. You're probably not going to watch this, right?
No.
So
Maybe just to say I have a movie on the list. I don't fucking know, but like, I don't care. Tell me.
yeah, but the single friend is babysitting one of the married friend's kids, right? And to like get him to like chill out while she's watching a movie, she tells him like, "Hey, if you pinky promise like you're not going to tell anybody, you can sit down and watch The Omen with me." And the kid's like 4 years old.
And you just had like flashbacks to your childhood.
Well, no, so it was funny because like they had just lost their nanny, which is why she was babysitting, and they managed to find a new nanny like a few days later or whatever. And she shows up, and it's like this older, like Hispanic lady, super religious. And the scene is like she's going into the room to check on the kid, and he's just standing at attention on top of his bed, and he's painted like 666 and upside down crosses all over the room. It doesn't like say a word, and she's just like screaming, like holding her cross at him, and I thought it was fucking hilarious. But I think that's the only scene that I actually laughed at.
What did you give it for a rating?
It came in pretty low. I have it at 2 stars, just above I Saw the TV Glow.
Okay, so it's a couple bottom of the
But
barrels.
this is another one where you look at the Letterboxd reviews, and clearly I just didn't get it.
Is this about trans people too?
No, no, it's just about girl bonding.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, yeah. These movies aren't for us.
No,
We see these so other people don't have to, though, right?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Man.
guys, don't go watch this by yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess like if your girl's looking to get pregos, like let her check this out.
If she's looking to get prego and you don't want her to, bring her to this movie.
Okay, because she doesn't want her nipples to get fucked up.
There was a lot of other shit, like she shot herself while she was giving birth.
That happens every time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I think girls shit themselves whenever they give birth. They're pushing hard, dude. And like, how can you know which hole?
It's fair.
Yeah,
fair. I just didn't know that was part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's a horror show being on that end of the fucking curtain, dude.
Yeah, I think this movie was more horror than I Saw the TV Glow.
So I watched. It wasn't really a big week for me as far as watching stuff. I decided to watch the Mark Wahlberg Planet of the Apes, which for some reason I didn't remember as a Tim Burton movie.
Okay,
but he sucks.
What else has he done?
Corpse Bride, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. That's the one I was thinking of.
One of the original Batmans. Some other shit. I'm not a huge fan, obviously. But I remembered this movie being far worse than I felt like it was this time watching it. Like it wasn't good, but it didn't bother me. Like it was kind of like fine. I like the only that was a gross burp. He kisses a monkey. That happens.
I've never seen it, so
yeah, he does kiss. He kisses a monkey.
Is it a lady monkey?
Yes. Yeah, and it's not like it's like a peck on the lips. He didn't like tongue her. He does kiss an attractive human woman afterwards. So he's double dipping, dude. Imagine that threesome.
Nope. I'd rather not.
So the only thing I'll say, so it kind of builds up to like what's supposed to be like a.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. I just remembered your take after we left Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Which one?
And you were complaining there were no swinging dicks.
Yes. Yeah, well, okay, yeah. Like I said that, like how come apes are like Ken dolls? Like how come no apes have dicks? None of them were in
Which then
pants.
we were educated. Apparently, they're known for having micro
Yeah,
penises.
we were told that. Yeah, yeah. We have an expert in our midst.
Yeah.
Yeah, riddle me this. Riddle me this, fucking movie theater people. Like, why don't your apes
Oh
have
god.
dicks?
Anyways, back to Mark Wahlberg.
um so like they're building up to like supposed to be like the big fight at the end. And it's like a million apes on one side, and it's like a large group of humans mixed with a couple apes on the other side. And they're about to fight it out. And like the fight just gets ended because like a chimp comes down from space that like was Mark Wahlberg's chimp that he tried following at the beginning of the movie. Um, and I was just like, I would have liked to have seen more of this like war take place. Like
Yeah.
like it just wasn't enough. And like the main villain, like bad ape, like he like traps himself, or like he doesn't trap himself, but he goes into this room, and Mark Wahlberg, it's like on his old spaceship, so he's able to like trap him in this like enclosure, and he can't get
Yeah.
out of it because he doesn't know how to open the door, and he's just kind of trapped there, and like that's the way they kind of finish it, and you're like, dude, I would have liked to have seen like more of a scrap here because like I wanted to see like Mark Wahlberg could stop 9/11. I need to see him stop the apes from taking over the planet.
Okay.
So it's like it's not great, but I think for its time, it's visually okay. Like all of the apes in this are practical as opposed to like what they are now, where it's all CGI, and obviously it's like super impressive what they can do now. But it was cool seeing like the practical take in the early 2000s that they were able to do, and how
Mm.
they made it look pretty good. Um, and then the ending, which is the part that I always remembered the most, is like the most interesting thing. And I wish like we never got a sequel to it, but the ending, he goes back in the spaceship and he's like, I'm going to return home to my people. And he goes to fly home and he gets there, and so much time has passed that the apes have actually taken over his Earth. And he like crashes his spaceship into the like Lincoln Memorial,
Mm.
and all of these like police cars, and like the Lincoln Memorial is actually a large like ape version of Lincoln sitting on the chair,
Okay.
and like
Like an ape in a top hat?
yeah, and then
Hell yeah.
all of these like police cars and fire trucks pull up, and they're not people, they're all apes that are like, and there's like an ape reporter and shit. And I was just like, dude, I wish we had gotten a sequel to this because I would have liked to have seen like an established like capitalism society run in the United States by just a bunch of apes doing human jobs, and like how they were going to play out a sequel to this movie. Like him having to escape from ape jail. I would have like, like would they have kept him in a zoo? Like,
Oh
you
shit.
know, like I just like I would have highly enjoyed the sequel that we never got, unfortunately, because this movie's been pretty widely planned. Although apparently I saw a TikTok, and this isn't even in his top 5 lowest rated like Rotten Tomatoes movies.
Huh. Do you know what the lowest five are?
I don't remember. I know Max Payne was number 3.
Okay.
I can't remember all the other ones. I just remember like I like Max Payne, not that it's like great, but like yeah, it's super poorly rated on IMDb. Not IMDb,
I like the
Rotten
video
Tomatoes.
games. I never watched the movie.
Uh, him and Mila Kunis.
Mm.
I'll see if I
Okay.
can look it up real quick. Have you seen anything else?
Yeah. So I went back to some oldies. I just think, movies before the year 2000 were very fun. Um, and funny enough that I start by saying that because I was actually trying to watch a movie from 2005, Assault on Precinct 13. Um, but when I was trying to find if there were any platforms streaming it, the result that popped up was the original from 1976 on Peacock. So I ended up watching
Wait,
that.
which movie?
Assault on Precinct 13.
You watched the original one?
Yeah.
Okay, I love.
I didn't even know it was a remake.
Oh yeah, I knew that. It was a good cast in the original too, right? Is it It's not like Wes
Don't
Craven
ask
or
me for
something, right?
names.
Like the director. Um,
I'm not gonna know any of that information. Now you're gonna make me Google.
You enjoyed it though?
Um, I liked it. Yeah, reminded me why I like old action movies.
Funny
It's
enough,
just
like my aunt,
fun.
I feel like my aunt was watching that when I was like walking like past her room the other day.
Ah, no wonder I liked it. It was a John Carpenter movie.
That's who it was. I was like Wes Craven. It's John Carpenter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Um,
liked the Ethan Hawke Lawrence Fishburne one.
so that's the one I was trying to watch, but that wasn't available on streaming. And then when this popped up, I was just like, ah, fuck it.
Did it? So you think it's better or worse?
I think I like the 2005 one better,
Just because it's more
but
modern.
yeah, I think it's mostly just because it's more modern. I don't think this one's bad at all. I actually really enjoyed it. Um, it's a short movie too. It's only an hour and a half, so like not offensive by any means, but it's just fun seeing how they do some of the effects then too. Like
Hmm.
this movie is from the 70s, so like
Yeah, and he was great at like obviously like Halloween comes out around that time. And
yeah,
doing like more practical with less budget was like something he was very good at.
yeah, just like the whole like police station getting shot up and everything, and I was like, oh, these are probably actual bullet holes.
I don't know if it's like that far, but like
No. It was funny though because like towards the beginning of like the assault, when they're shooting out the windows and shit, they're shooting with silencers. And so like you can't hear any of the shots, but you just see the glass basically spontaneously combusting or bursting. I thought that was funny.
I pulled up Mark Wahlberg's like all of his movies ranked on IMDb.
Yeah.
Apparently like so Max Payne has 16%, Transformers The Last Night has 16%, The Happening has 18%, Transformers Extinction is 18%, Mile
So it's all just
22.
Transformers.
Yeah, his Transformer movies are bad.
Yeah.
Mile 22 has 23%. Daddy's
I
Home,
don't even know what that is.
nobody watched it. Daddy's Home 2, 21%.
Damn.
Broken City, 27%.
Hmm.
Daddy's Home, the first one, which is funny, and like it shouldn't be this bad, is 30%.
But what's the audience score?
The Lovely Bones, 31%. Fear, only a 46%. The Big Hit, which I've talked about recently, is 41%. Planet of
Okay.
the Apes got a score of 43%, so not as hated as I thought it would be. But like The Perfect Storm is a good movie. It only got a 46%. Shooter, 48.
I like Shooter.
The Corruptor, my first R-rated movie, 48%. Pain and Gain, 50%. Four Brothers, 53%.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes is canceled.
We Own the Night, which is the Eva Mendes movie that I had talked about last week with the boobs. 57%.
Hmm. Rotten Tomatoes didn't like Eva Mendes' boobs.
Not enough.
Hmm.
What's his highest rated movie? Oh, Three Kings, which makes sense. It's like fantastic. 94%. You've seen
Hmm.
it, correct?
No.
Uh, Go on. Dude, you know who's in that, dude?
No.
Clooney, Wahlberg, Ice Cube.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like a war movie. Takes place in the Gulf War. They
Sound like they don't fit together,
they
but
um they
sounds interesting.
decide to steal like stuff from Saddam Hussein while they're in the Gulf War.
Check that one out. Usually not big on war movies, but
It's not really like it takes place during the war. It's really good. I 100% recommend
okay.
that. Okay. Anything else you watched?
I also watched the original Crow.
Okay, I still have to go and do a rewatch.
Yeah. Because that's coming out next month, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta watch it
Yeah.
before then. Good?
Um
Nope.
I enjoyed it, but to say the movie's good would be a stretch.
Yeah, I don't like. I think it's just like it's a nostalgia viewing.
Yeah, I think this is one of those ones where I could see where it would have a cult following, but like to say it's good would be a stretch.
Yeah. Does it make you more or less interested in the new one?
I mean, I like the whole premise of the movie, so I'm interested to see how they implement that in the new one because I know they take some liberties with like switching up the story and shit. Um, I also didn't realize there were a bunch of other like Crow movies. So I didn't watch any of those, but
Probably don't need to.
I yeah, I
Just
guess.
won't. Yeah.
Yeah. Depends how much I want to understand of the lore.
Who cares?
Maybe I'll go back and read the original comic books.
You won't.
Nope.
All
Ugh,
right. Anything else?
no. You?
Um, I mean, like I watched the Transformers movies, like the first few. Like again, that nothing to really talk about there. I still think Dark Side of the Moon's my favorite one. Um, I am back on The Summer I Turned Pretty. I'm watching that again. I might read the book, listen to the
Okay.
book,
Yeah, there you go.
because it's been
That distinction is
they
important.
started filming season 3, and now my TikTok algorithm is a lot of Summer I Turned Pretty, and some of it is them reading excerpts of the audiobook. And I'm like, fuck, I need to
Mm,
know how this ends. So I kind of just want to get ahead of it and read the book. So I might do that. Um, I also had in my TikTok algorithm this TV show that's on Hulu that came out in 2020. That's called A Teacher, and it stars Kate Mara and Nick Robinson. Nick Robinson was just in that movie Snack Shack that I talked about a few weeks ago that I really liked. That again, I would
mm.
recommend people watch. It's
Is
fantastic.
that the one that you say you bought on Voodoo?
Yeah, yeah, and
Okay.
so I like him a lot. He's been in other stuff. I think he was in. I wanted to say Jumanji for a second, but it's not Jumanji. He's in Everything, Everything, which is like a rom com movie. He's also in Jurassic World. He's one of the kids in Jurassic World, and then he's in The Kings of Summer, which is the movie that I referenced when I was talking about Snack Shack as the movie that it reminded me
Yeah.
of. He's the main actor in that. But it's about Kate Mara stars as an English teacher who has an affair with one of her students, which is played by Nick Robinson, and like they get caught and she goes to jail, and like I watched like a few of the scenes on TikTok, and it's made me want to kind of go and watch the show.
Mm.
So I might check that
I
out.
have some things on my watch list that I might start doing a few rentals
Yeah.
coming up in the next coming week because, like, basically, like, I'll come across shit online or somebody will tell me about something and I'll go and throw it into my watch list. And then later, I'll scroll through and be like, oh, yeah, I'm kind of in the mood for this. And I'll click it, see where it's streaming. Oh, no, it's not streaming. You either have to rent it or buy it.
Hmm.
And so I'll kind of skip through those until it later comes on streaming. But now I'm kind of at the point where most of them have to be rented or bought. So
Yeah.
probably going to be spending some money
I
here.
have all the stuff in my Voodoo watch list, and I just check deals of the week every week to see if stuff that I
Mm,
want to get is on sale to buy.
yeah. I keep my watch list on Letterboxd just because I like the layout it gives me for where to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably should add stuff onto there too. Because like I end up just like if it's on sale before I buy it, I just go into Google and like check. Because a lot
Mm,
of the times what happens is if stuff is going on sale, you'll find that like 2 weeks later it's going on
it's on
sale because
streaming.
it's being put onto streaming for you to watch, and they want to try and get you to buy it before it ends up on like a streaming service somewhere. I've really just been waiting for that movie Wimbledon to be on sale because I don't want to spend $15 on it.
That was one of the ones I looked at. Yeah,
Yeah, I just
it's on my
like
list. You told me to add
I
it.
want to get it. I just don't want to spend $15 on a movie that's like 15 years old, 20 years old. So I keep waiting for it to like I'll buy it for $10 or less. Like
Yeah,
I feel like it should go on sale and it's not.
which is why I end up doing the rentals in most cases because they're either $3 or $4.
My problem is like, yeah, it's $3 or $4, but when they go on sale and I can buy it for $4 more than that or something, I'd rather just wait for that than rent it and have to watch it like the one time and then not have it.
Yeah, I mean, rewatching movies isn't a huge thing for me, so that's where I don't mind renting it. But
Yeah,
Most of the ones I want to rewatch are available on some sort of streaming platform.
I definitely still scroll through my Voodoo and just find stuff to rewatch. So,
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else. A couple other things that I forgot for news. Roadhouse 2 is getting worked on now. So they're planning to do a sequel to that.
So we're getting Connor Mack back on the screen.
Yeah. And then remember that Blake Lively Anna Kendrick movie that we watched, Simple Favor?
Oh yeah.
Apparently they have a sequel to that coming out.
That movie was old though, wasn't it?
Mid 2010s.
Okay.
So it's
So
like
sequel like 10 years later.
yeah, like they're apparently getting ready to work on a sequel. It's already like written out. I don't know if it's in production, but yeah, they're doing a sequel. It's following the same. It's Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick are back in it. So I saw that and I was like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, I really like that movie, so I'll definitely watch a sequel. It's interesting to see what they figure out, what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
I feel like Anna Kendrick's a person who like was really hot for a little bit, and like she hasn't done as much in the past few years. Like she has like the Trolls movies, but which aren't things that I'll watch that are successful,
Yeah.
but like is just not for me, you know. But I like her, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Blake Lively's awesome. We've gone
Okay.
pretty long here though, so if we
We're
don't
on
have
that strike
anything
of 2
else,
hours.
yeah, let's wrap this up. Let us know what you thought of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, guys. Let us know if you think AMC's a premiere is a ripoff, as Dante seems to believe. If you
I didn't say it was a
saw,
ripoff. I just said the man made valid points.
I saw the TV glow. Let us know if you understood it. And what else have you been watching? Or what else should we be looking out for? Next week, we should have a couple movies. You have If coming out this week, and you also have The Strangers coming out this week. Two movies that I'm pretty excited about. So,
There's also Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse movie.
no,
No? Okay.
no, no, you might have that one up on me, dude, because I could care less.
They're doing an early access screening tomorrow night that I'm not going to be able to watch.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were like,
Yeah.
I really need to see that.
I don't think I was like itching for it.
Seems like it.
I like Amy Winehouse, so I was curious.
Cool. Let us know how much you're not looking forward to that one, people. And again, like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't yet. Tell a friend, ask a friend. We appreciate you as always. Thank you for sticking around. Until next week, we bid you fale adieu. Peace out. Bang. Bang.
Peace.
For those with good taste.